Hi guys, welcome to Little Wicket Railway. I'm Rob and a few people have asked me to give them a bit more detail on the design of the layout. So in this video I'll explain the track work and I'll highlight the areas that I think work and which bits I would redesign if I could have another go at it. Before we start, please consider subscribing to the channel. It's completely free and I would really appreciate it. Right, let's get going. Okay, so this is the track plan that I've put together in a piece of software called AnyRail, and I'll use this to talk you through the layout. As a quick aside, I actually used a piece of software called Scarm to plan the original layout when I first started, but since then I've decided to switch to AnyRail because I think it's slightly more user-friendly. AnyRail lets you view the track plan in either a 2D view or a 3D view where you can move around in the space. So here it is with the ground showing, and if I take the ground off you'll be able to see the different levels that I've created. It's not a perfect 3D model, but it's good enough to get an idea. For some reason the turntable doesn't show up, and if you've seen a video of the layout then hopefully you should recognise all the main features. I wish I could say that Little Wicket was carefully planned and every piece of track thought out, but honestly I was a bit clueless, and whilst I did put quite a bit of thought into things, there's also an element of evolution and improvisation. On this plan, to make things a bit clearer, I've split off the upper level and I'll just move it to one side so we can see what's going on. Let's start by talking about the track. It's all Hornby Code 100 and most of it is set track, the same type of stuff that you get in train sets. This is because firstly, I didn't really know that other types of track existed, and secondly, I had quite a bit of set track from train sets that I'd picked up. I've used a few bits of flex track where I've needed to make some unusual angles, and in some places I've cut down the set track to make different lengths in order for it to fit, but it's mostly standard Hornby set track. We've got first radius curves on the inside here going up to fourth radius curves on the outside, which fit really neatly on a 4-foot wide board. And all the points are standard radius points, not the express types. So that's pretty much all there is to say about the track. When I was first planning this, I had a few ideas about what I wanted. I knew I wanted a couple of continuous loops so I could have trains running round and around through a mainline station. So here we've got the two main loops and the main station Little Wicket. Little Wicket has 4 platforms, 3 through platforms and this bay platform. I also wanted a branch line that would be loosely based on the Harborne branch line, which is very close to where I live. So here we've got the branch line that comes off at Little Wicket, climbs round the back and curves past Rotten Park Road station before descending into Harborne station in the middle. I wanted to have some elevation on the layout because I think that makes the layout more exciting, and in real life the Harborne branch was actually quite steep, so I built that into this branch line. It worked out that it was about 4% going up over here and 5% coming down in the middle. The 5% gradient proved to be too steep for some trains to get back up, so I decided to build in this escape route from Harborne station back to the main line, plus it meant that larger engines could access the turntable at the end of the Harborne platform. I knew I wanted to have a brewery scene that would represent the Mitchells and Butlers Cape Hill Brewery that was connected to the Harborne branch, so that's just over here before Rotten Park Station. The brewery needed a couple of sidings and a small engine shed for the brewery locomotive. At the same time I was planning this area, I discovered Inglenook shunting puzzle, so I actually set this up so that it could be operated as a small Inglenook puzzle. In the middle here I wanted a small village area, and canals are very important to Birmingham, so I wanted to squeeze a little bit of canal in next to the brewery so they have the option of getting the beer out on the water as well as on the rails. I also wanted to represent the Harborne coal sidings, so they're down here. And as I was going along I decided to put an engine shed over here too. So I was asking a lot from this layout and I was adding more and more stuff as I went along. I also wanted to be able to have lots going on in terms of trains running. This was always intended to be a digital layout, so having lots of trains on track at the same time wasn't going to be an issue, but they needed to be able to pass each other. So to achieve this, I decided to have 2 hidden passing loops under this Rotten Park station area. Then I put in another passing loop here intended for goods trains to stop in to allow express trains through. Plus I decided to have the station so that this platform in the middle would be able to accept trains from both directions. So that would allow me to store quite a few trains on the layout at any one time. I also had this fairly long siding coming off platform 4. Quite a bit later in the build process I decided I wanted more storage and managed to bolt on an extra foot of board at the end and add in these 3 hidden storage sidings. So that's an overview of the layout and some of the thought process behind it, but Does it work? Well, sort of, but I'd probably change most of it if I'm honest. The first thing is that there's too much track for the board and I think it looks really cluttered, and looking back I think less would have been more, plus I'd have saved quite a bit of money. I think it would have been better to have more space for the scenic stuff, plus some areas of track very rarely get used. The Inglenook puzzle at the brewery, for example, it's a nice idea, but I basically gave up doing the scenics on it because it wasn't getting used. The Harborne sidings and the turntable are other areas that get very little use. I really don't like the Hornby turntable. I've converted it to digital, but it makes a horrible noise. I'd take the turntable out altogether and just have a small passing loop, and I'd get rid of this extra siding and only have the one, which would give me a bit more space in the middle of the board. Another area that doesn't get much use are the storage sidings, because they're only attached to this platform and it's really only possible without a lot of manoeuvring to get them on the outer loop, so I don't end up using them very much. These hidden passing loops under Rotten Park Road Station work really well when they work. One train goes into the tunnel and a different train comes out. However, these curved points operated by solenoid point motors have caused a lot of derailments, and because this is a hidden area they can be a nightmare to sort out. Also, because you can't see the trains, I need to trust the sensors to tell me where to stop the trains, and we have had a few collisions where trains have overshot their stopping marks. Rather than having these, I wish I'd just extended the loops out a bit further to connect with the storage sidings and then have them as the passing loops where I can actually get to them, and I'd probably then use the storage sidings more as well. The passing loop on the inside over here actually works really well. It's a first radius curve, so it's not suitable for everything, but it was only really intended for small 060 engines pulling short goods trains to stop in. Having this platform in the middle be bidirectional kind of works, but it does make everything slightly more complicated. I wish I'd made Little Wicket far simpler with 2 up platforms and 2 down platforms. These station throats are also pretty horrible because we've got these S-curves. As a train comes in, it goes left and then immediately right, which doesn't look very nice. Also, for some of the longer trains, it can cause problems where the front of the locomotive catches the edge of the platform. They could do with a bit of a redesign, maybe making use of some single or double slips to save space. Talking of saving space, I'd probably use a Pico 3-way point up here in the brewery as well. Okay, so what else is there to talk about? The branch line up here forms a reversing loop, so where it connects up back to the main line, and this makes the wiring a lot more difficult. I'd probably redo this whole branch line, to be honest. I'd have the branch line terminate up here at Rotten Park Road Station, and then I'd get rid of this station in the middle and just have some coal sidings and maybe move the engine shed over here as well. This gives a lot more room for the village and allows the brewery to expand. So I think that's all there really is to talk about. It's been a learning process, and as I say, there's quite a few things I would probably change if I could go back and do this again. And when I say that I'd go back and change bits, it's not necessarily because they didn't work at all. It's just that as I've been going along and as I've spent more time with the layout, I've worked out what keeps me entertained and what's important to me. And for example, shunting to me, turns out I don't enjoy it that much, whereas other people might absolutely love it. So the one piece of advice I'd pass on to anyone who is thinking about doing a track plan is think about what you enjoy. So whether that's running continuous trains or whether it's doing intricate shunting movements, I don't know, but have a think about that before you build it. And as you can see from here, it's okay if you don't know, because I didn't have a clue and I've learnt as I've gone along, and I'll take that into my next layout. So that's the layout, and it's okay. I really enjoyed building it and there's plenty to play with, but there's a lot I do differently were I to start again. If you've got any good advice about designing layouts, then please share it in the comments section below. If you've enjoyed this video, then please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit that notifications bell so YouTube will let you know when videos come out in the future. Thanks for watching, and I will hopefully see you again soon.